Hey and welcome to my channel. This is Zach the Russian. For those for the first time on my channel, my name is Zach. I'm 20 years old Russian who just recently left Russia because of the bloody war against Ukraine. I had to leave Russia because of the war, and today I'm gonna tell you how my life is different and what happened to me during this process of leaving Russia. And I already spent more than 5 months being outside of Russia, living my life in Tbilisi, Georgia. And today I want to tell you about my journey. But before, let me give you a little bit of a background of mine. So yes, I'm 20 years old Russian. I was born in the far east of Russia, so basically there is Moscow, 7,000 kilometers, and here is my hometown, basically Komsomolsk-on-Amur. That's actually the city where they built all those firefighters, Su-25 and Su-27, which are right now bombing Ukraine. Wow, ironically. So I grew up in the far east of Russia. I was moving around the different cities, and then I entered the university in Moscow when I was 17. Then after 2 years, I've won a scholarship from the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, and I went to the U.S. for a half of the year. And then recently, like almost 7 months ago, I came back from the US to Russia. I visited my mom, but then I went to Moscow, and my plan was just to stay in Moscow and to create videos about Moscow in English because there is not much of a English content about Moscow, about specific details, about specific topics. So that was my original plan. So yeah, I came to Moscow. When I've been to the US, I was always on the phone with my friend from my hometown. And we were always like, yeah, once I'm back in Moscow, we're gonna rent apartment together and we're gonna live together because it's gonna be super cool because we are basically best friends. And he was like, yeah, sure, Zach, I'm like waiting for you to come back. And once I'm back, we actually were looking for an apartment in Moscow for a long time because it was really hard for us because we are two young men and nobody really wants to rent out the apartment for young men because they were basically saying you're gonna party, you're gonna take girls over and everything. So we spent like 2 weeks looking for an apartment, and then we just moved in. We paid down payment, and we literally like invested all of our money in just living in Moscow. And then I bought myself a gym membership for 3 months. I was thinking, yeah, right now there is a new chapter in my life. I'm starting my life in Moscow because I still got the half a year or gap year before my university. So I was thinking, okay, this half a year I'm gonna just be making content about Moscow and enjoy living there. And then 24th of February, I'm waking up and I'm just taking my phone, reading news, and there is a news about the special military operation, which is basically a war between Russia and Ukraine. Putin invaded Ukraine, 4 a.m., 24th of February, Moscow time. And when I woken up, I was just so stressed out and I didn't know what to do. So I just withdrew all of my money. Hey guys, this is Zach the Russian. Russia just started a war against Ukraine, a huge war. And right now I'm going to cash out all of my money. And because our Russian government can easily froze all of the money you have. And you know, our bank system is not stable at all. Like Sberbank is the biggest bank in Russia, basically, private bank. It lost about 50% of all of the money today because of the sanctions from the US. And most of my money and most of the money of Russians, they all in Sberbank. So right now I'm going to cash out all of those money, and I know right now it's really hard in Moscow because there are just many people want to cash out, and it's really hard. A boss of my friend, he was trying to cash out 400,000 rubles. It's something about $5,000, and he wasn't able to find a place where to cash out because there is just a limit that you can cash out. By the way, I just returned from the ATM and I cashed out successfully. And then I went to protest February 24th. I almost got arrested at one point, like 6 policemen were chasing me. I got a whole video on this topic, how I was chased by 6 policemen at the same time, and luckily somehow I made it out. so you can check it out. But after the whole situation, I've just decided that I cannot stay in Russia anymore. It's just not safe, especially um, I'm being a YouTuber, an English speaking YouTuber, a Russian, uh, from Russia, and I cannot really post anything except things related to the war. So I've just decided that there is no point for me to stay in Moscow and to film like, oh, how Moscow is beautiful. Like, look at those beautiful buildings that were built by those Soviet architectures in that year. Who the hell cares while there are so many people just dying, being bombed by my country? So that's the reason why I left. I left Moscow 3rd of March. Yeah. I've seen. I was really afraid about living in Moscow, like living in Russia on a plane, because there were many rumors that on the border, on the passport control, they will check your phone on different. Basically, there is a main social media that Russians use, which is Telegram, and on Telegram, of course, there are many oppositionary mass medias, and there were some rumors that when you live in Russia, on the passport control, a KGB agent can just came over and say, please, can you give me my phone so I will check if you are an extremist or not. And I was so afraid of it, so I basically deleted everything from my phone. So it was like literally not everything, but I've deleted Telegram, like the whole social media, so they wouldn't be able to see this. And I was thinking like, oh damn, I got 4,000 pictures on my phone from the US, from my trip to the US, which was one of my best trips in my life. And I was thinking, wow, damn, I'm not gonna delete this. But if they will see this, they will think like, oh, you've been to the US? Are you a foreign agent or something? So I was literally debating about it in my head, but then I was like, okay, anyway, if they're gonna arrest me, I'm still gonna have in these pictures, because those pictures, sometimes I'm just rewatching them and I feel so nostalgic and so great. So it really feels great that I haven't deleted those. Luckily, I made it through without any checkings, even though there were stories by Lera. We interviewed her in my video about Baku. She got checked, her phone got checked on different, especially they were like typing and looking for the words like Navalny or Lukashenko, or like they call Lukashenko cockroach, so they were literally googling like in Russian cockroach in her story of conversation with her friends. She kind of got unlucky, but for the most part, the Russians whom I know, they actually made it through kind of easily without no check-ins. So my initial plan was to fly to Tbilisi, Georgia, and there are no direct flights between Russia and Georgia because of the war in 2008. So you have to fly either to Belarus, Armenia, or Azerbaijan. So I've decided to fly to Azerbaijan because it was the cheapest option. And I was thinking, okay, once I'm in Azerbaijan, the next day I'll just take a train or bus to Tbilisi because it's not really far. It's a neighbor country. And I was Googling, it is possible to cross the border between Georgia and Azerbaijan on a train or a bus, and there were literally no information on the internet. I didn't know how it works, but I was literally asking in different chats on Telegram. I was Googling official information, official websites of the embassies, and there were literally no information. So I was thinking, okay, so if there is no information about it, I guess it's just opened and nobody really cares about letting you know it's open. So I decided to go to Azerbaijan. It was kind of a big mistake. So once I left Russia, so we basically landed in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, and I felt so great, literally. I felt like, wow, I escaped Gulag. Because at that point, like when the war started, everyone was scared. Everyone was scared that Russian government can literally call a Iron Curtain and you won't be able to leave the country. You're gonna be like literally in the Soviet Union, be a prisoner of the country. So once I left, I felt really like, oh yeah, oh, thanks God, I just left, and what happens next doesn't matter. I just left. Yeah, so I appeared in Baku, and I've decided to ask a person on the border control if the border between Azerbaijan and Georgia is open, and he said no. And I was surprised because I just appeared to be in the middle of nowhere, like literally in a country I've never been. And before this, the only country I've been before was the U.S. So Russia, the U.S., and here I am in Azerbaijan, which is totally different country. Even though it's a post-Soviet country and they speak Russian, but still it was kind of a weird feeling. I felt kind of lost. So I was lost in the airport of Baku, and I was thinking, what do I do next? I don't even have a hotel reserved, or I don't have any friends here. What should I do? And I've decided. I was like, okay, I need to have a internet at least to go to the downtown of a city. Like I need to call a taxi or something. And the public internet in Baku airport didn't work. I don't know why. So I was like, okay, I need to ask for how much is a SIM card with internet in the airport, and it was like $50 for 2 GB of data. And I was like, hell no, I'm gonna pay that money for 2 GB. Especially I left. I didn't have much money on myself because I literally spent all of my money on like renting apartment in Moscow, like down payment. And I was thinking, what should I do? So I was going around and I've seen Russians. I saw them in a plane, and I seen they were having a cat bag basically with a cat inside. And I was thinking, well, I guess those are the people like me. Those are the people who are fleeing Russia because of the war. So I've decided I need to start conversation somehow, because I've seen they had internet. So I was just asking. I was thinking they will share the internet somehow. So I was like, oh hey, how do you have the internet? And they're like, just internet here works, but really slowly. And then we start conversation. It appeared that I was right. They also left Russia because of the war. We discussed the war together. Everything was going on. And then they ordered a taxi, and we decided to go to downtown Baku together. They were going to their hotel, like we dropped off from the taxi, and they were going to the hotel, and I was going with them with all of my belongings. Like I had a huge luggage with PC and a small bag of my personal like clothes, and a small backpack, and I was going with them. And then I was like, well, they are going to the hotel, but where am I going? And I was like, yeah, I need to go somewhere just to find a SIM card or something, so I will have the internet at least. Because being at 20 years old in a different country without internet seems like impossible to me at least. So I was like, okay, guys, I'll go to the metro, because there used to be metro like SIM cards at the metro. They used to sell it, and I was just going alone on the streets of Baku, and I've seen there were some Azerbaijani guys at the dentist clinic. They were just smoking cigarettes close to the clinic, and I just decided to ask, where should I go to the metro? And they were like, oh, are you lost? And I just told them, yeah, I just left Russia. I don't know where to go. I have no data. I don't know where am I. I'm really lost. And like, oh brother, like in Russian, of course, they spoke Russian. Brother, come here. And they appear to be all the dentists, literally the dentists, and the guy from security. So they got me into the dentist clinic. And they were like, brother, just sit. And it's like about those countries, like from the Caucasus region and Azerbaijan, like they always call you brother. I don't know why. So they're like, brother, do you need any help? They shared the internet with me. They gave me really tasty, beautiful Azerbaijani tea, which is really great. You should just try it. And they were like, brother, you don't need a SIM card. Just go to the hotel and check in first, and then go there. And they helped me a lot. I'm really grateful for them. Unfortunately, I don't have any contacts of those guys, but they really helped me out. So I'm really grateful. Maybe you're watching some of you, who knows. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So then I checked in the hostel. I've met many Russians there who also left Russia. I met my future roommate, Lera. I interviewed her in one of the videos of mine. Also, later, I've met Slava from Russian Plus channel. He also came to Baku because he wanted to leave Russia. At that point, he was also afraid of a Iron Curtain, and it was some kind of my dream to meet Slava in person, because he was such a great guy on his YouTube channel, and he seemed to me like an American, because literally his accent like Tennessee or somewhere Alabama. So we met with Slava. It was pretty random meeting. I met him at the airport, and we spent some really great days in Baku together, discussing what's going on in Russia. and just trying to think about the future, because you don't really understand what's going on. I was thinking it can become so worse, they're gonna turn Russia to the Soviet Union back, and I was thinking there's gonna be Iron Curtain, and they're gonna mobilize every single young man to the army. So I was really afraid of it. Baku was a really great city. I spent 12 days there before my flight to Georgia. And Baku was really nice. I got a couple of the videos from there. I really loved Baku's cats, because basically Azerbaijan is really close to Turkey, and culturally it's really close. And of course, Istanbul as the capital of cats. Baku seemed to be to me always almost like Turkey. There were so many cats, and I just spent much time just petting the cats outside. And also, I the kind of highlight of my trip from Baku was G-Wagon cars, Mercedes G-Wagons. Like, it seemed like it's a Baku's dream of a man just to buy yourself a G-Wagon. I haven't seen G-Wagons in such amount anywhere except Baku. So I spent some time in Baku, and I had to go to Tbilisi, Georgia. You may ask, and many people asked me, why do you go to Georgia? Why don't you go to Europe or to the US? Especially because I've studied in the US for half a year. The only issue with visas, Georgia, why there are so many Russians coming to Georgia, is basically because it's just the only option to go. If you're Russian, where you can go to and stay for as long as you want. It's Georgia, because you can come here, you can stay for 364 days. Then you can just literally leave for 1 day to Armenia, for example, come back, and you got 364 more days. So literally you can stay here for as long as you want. And that's the only reason why there are so many Russians coming. And Georgia seems really European country. It's really it's relatively cheap, at least for me and Russians. I know for locals it's a different story. And also, yeah, if you're Russian, you just cannot really go anywhere without visas, and usually takes a lot of time. So Georgia was one of the only options. And actually, I was planning on going to Georgia even before the war. I was thinking, okay, once I'm back from the US, I would either go to Ukraine, which is even crazy to think about right now, or to Georgia. That's the end of the story, how I was living in Russia. In the next video, I'm gonna tell you more about my life in Georgia and how it is different from what it used to be. Once again, I really appreciate all of the support I get. Thanks to you, I was able to leave. I hope this war will finish soon. So stop Putin, stop the war.